the South Africa and Israel and their diplomatic status now is as low as it's ever been. South Africa has expelled the charge d'affaires of Israel from South Africa because of some anti-South African statements and undermining the sovereignty of South Africa by sending people on the ground to talk to traditional leaders in South Africa without letting the government know it. And this is what Israel is known for doing, sending in operatives to sow discord within the country. Now, at the same time, Israel has retaliated by expelling some members of South Africa's ambassadorial group in Israel out of the country. But what's at stake here, more importantly, is that the U.S. has said, especially with Rubio, that if at the rate South Africa is going, taking Israel to the Court of Justice and expelling some of their top ambassadors and top diplomats in South Africa, they're playing around in which they'll lose their trade agreement with the U.S. And their trade agreement with the U.S. is that certain South African goods are tariff free if they come into the U.S. and that will help South Africa's economy. But if South Africa continues taking Israel to court and kicking out their diplomats, the U.S. will pull it under the rug. I'm going to argue that this is an empty threat and it's not going to work. And the reason I'm going to argue that is that a lot of these companies that are in South Africa that are getting tariff free into the U.S. are actually producing jobs for South Africans and they're licensed within South Africa, but they're owned by manufacturers from the West. So, for example, BMW, it's owned by German and American businessmen. So they're not going to put tariffs on their own goods. You see what I'm saying? So these tariffs that they're saying, these are actually American goods. And second of all, even if they aren't American goods, there are things like oranges and fruits and minerals, rare earth minerals that the U.S. needs, especially because of China. So they're not going to cut the tariffs. They're not going to cut the trade agreement with South Africa because it actually helps them. Third of all, even if they do cut it, all these if they put tariffs on South African goods, China has said that they're ready to take the load, and it will still be there won't be any taxation on it anyway. So, what are your thoughts, Kunle? So, my point being here is that South Africa can keep on antagonizing Israel and can cut diplomatic ties with it, and they're not going to have to pay the price economically because number one, the U.S. needs South African minerals and goods and won't cut trades. It's just an empty threat. And number two, even if they do it, China will continue to will cover the gap. What do you think, Kunle?
Yeah, America is in a stage where it's beginning to lose its credibility with all its trading partners. So it needs to try to recover some of that and show some seriousness and maturity and stability. Otherwise, long term, it will not be able to get back. And all these ground that it loses, simply China gains back. So America does need to watch its step.
Yeah, and this is a global trend that we see. You okay? The trend that we see all over the world now, in which China is sustaining the world with trade and everything, so that even if America puts sanctions on countries and things, it's not going to work. It's working on Iran, but it didn't work with Russia because once the goods that Russia gives to the oil and gas that Russia was sending to Europe, once that was cut off, China, India, and other ones and other countries picked up the slack. So the U.S. is running a lot of options, and South Africa, being a BRICS partner, has China and other countries which are willing to import its goods and allow them to export without putting any tariffs at all because they're a member of BRICS. I'll end with that. What are your last thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, and on that last thought about BRICS, this is where the two converge, and this is where the red line is drawn between China, Russia, and South Africa. And I think the real battle in BRICS is between China and America. It's China leads BRICS. Let me put it that way, because if you look at all the other countries in BRICS, they all have various levels of commitment, but China is solidly committed to a general commonwealth, and it does not care militarily about all these antics of military adventurism of the West. It has shown itself to be more responsible, and that simply being more responsible can make you more dominant than military. And that's why all these antics are not really working for
Not only
America.
that, not only that, China is sustaining the American economy because of the treasury bonds that they buy. So that China basically is the powerhouse of the world economically because it holds America's debts. And it produces goods so cheaply that everybody's turning to them. The Canadian Prime Minister is turning to them. Keir Starmer went to them yesterday and said he's going to open relations with China. So what you're seeing now is the shift, and all America can do is a couple of wars here and there, snatch Maduro out of Venezuela, threaten South Africa, maybe bomb Iran a couple of more times to project power, but they have no power. And the actual U.S. economy itself is dependent on China, so they ain't gonna do shit, man. That's all I have to say. So take us out, Kunle.
Yeah, so it's been a riveting look at South Africa, America, and China in the military and economic guns and butter economics of diplomacy of the 21st century. And as they river down to who knows where we're going to be, from myself and Mustafa, we bid you goodbye, farewell, adieu. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.